This video will be designed to introduce you to SPSS and how to create variables in SPSS, label those variables, and then enter the data that's associated with those variables. And what we're going to use is the introductory activity that is located in the first module in D2L. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two variables. I'm going to create a gender variable and a math score variable. And so what I'm going to do is open my SPSS spreadsheet. And so you'll notice that depending on what version of SPSS you have, whether you have the Macintosh version or the Windows version, the variable view and the data view tabs are going to be located in different places. And so we're going to click and go into the variable view tab. So what this does is allows us to enter in names for each variable. So the first variable I'm going to create is gender. And so I'll label it gender. And we're going to call this a numeric variable because what we're going to use is numbers to represent male and female. Okay, and then the type of measure it is, we're going to call it nominal because this is a categorical variable. It's a variable that is named. So just like male and female is a nominal variable, Republican and Democrat could also be considered a nominal variable. Freshman, sophomore, junior, senior, those can also be considered nominal variables because they are names for subsets of that variable. Okay, so if we go to data view, we can see that our column now is labeled gender. So I'm going to label then or create the next variable. And this variable I'm going to call math. And notice that I have math score for the label. In SPSS, if I want to include the score part of that label, I have to use an underscore. SPSS will not, excuse me, SPSS will not allow you to create a variable that has spaces. Now, if you want to put math score here under the label area, then that's perfectly fine. But if you try to put in a variable name with a space, SPSS will not allow you to do it. Now notice that this is interval level variables because it's numbers. And we assume that, for example, the difference between 234 and 235, which is 1 unit, is the same as the difference between 239 and 240, which is 1 unit. So that's what defines an interval level variable. And so when we come over here, we're going to call this scale. So that's interval level or scale. Now notice that we don't have to label this variable at all because each individual has a score. But for the gender variable, some of our participants are males and some are females. So we have to go into the value labels box, and I should have done this when I created the variable, but we'll call value 1 and we'll label it male and add, and value 2 and label it female and add, and then we'll go OK. So now we have our, if we go to data view, we have our two columns of data set up. We have our two variables set up, our nominal variable and our interval level variable. So now we can enter that data into SPSS. So the first one is a 1, the second participant is a 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, and 1. Okay, and then we can see that That first participant scores 234. 239 is for the next participant. 263. 244. 247. 257. 239. 248. 247. And 234. So you can see now we have each individual labeled according to their gender, and then we've added in addition each of their math scores. So this is basically how you set up and create variables in SPSS, how you label the variables, and then how you enter the data that accompanies each person within each variable.